Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Troilus and Cressida, and we get to hear from Troilus again today in Act 5, Scene 2, because he wasn't quite done lamenting what he has just seen, and what he has just seen is this. So after Hector was sent on his way after having a lovely dinner with all of the Greeks, because he and Ajax decided not to kill each other because they're a family, Troilus and Ulysses followed Diomedes to Calchas' tent. Troilus to find out where Calchas' tent is, Ulysses to help show him the way, but Ulysses also knew that Diomedes would be going there because Diomedes is, as we learned, courting Cressida. And when he gets there, and it's a sort of it could be a funny, humorous scene if you wanted it to be, where you have Diomedes and Cressida doing their flirting over here, and then a little ways away you have Troilus and Ulysses, and Troilus is getting angrier and angrier about what he sees, and Ulysses keeps trying to tell him to be quiet or else they'll be heard and then found out. And then Thersites is in the back just commenting on all of it and loving that these people are getting so messed up. But Cressida and Diomedes are going back and forth because she had promised him something that she doesn't want to deliver on, and then she finally promises something else, but we don't necessarily know what because she whispered it in his ear. And he's like, well, I need some sort of token of yours. So she goes back inside and comes back out with the sleeve that Troilus had given her as a token of his love. And then she tries to take it back, but is unsuccessful in doing that. And Diomedes is like, who is this from? And she doesn't want to tell him. And he's like, well, fine, it doesn't matter. I'll wear it in my helm tomorrow on the battlefield. And whoever it is that comes specifically for me, I'll know that that's who the sleeve was from. And so they part ways. Cressida goes back inside. Diomedes leaves for the evening. And yesterday we got to hear from Troilus, who's kind of in denial about what he saw. And he's of two minds on it, because he could physically see that was Cressida doing that, but he's like, but that's not her. That can't be her, because the Cressida that I know is different, and I'm still in love with the Cressida that I know. But if she's going to do that sort of thing to me, like my heart is broken. This bond that we had is broken, and the pieces that are left of Cressida now belong to Diomedes. And Ulysses is like, wow, so this really upset you, right? Like you're tied to her. You're tied to this whole situation. And Troilus says, I, Greek, and that shall be divulged well in characters, as red as Mars, his heart inflamed with Venus. Never did young man fancy with so eternal and so fixed a soul. Hark, Greek. As much I do Cressida love, so much by weight hate I her Diomed. That sleeve is mine that he'll bear in his helm. Were it a casque composed by Vulcan's skill, my sword should bite it. Not the dreadful spout, which shipmen do the hurricano call, constringed in mass by the almighty fen, shall dizzy with more clamor Neptune's ear in his descent, than shall my prompted sword falling on Diomed. So he starts out here a little bit sad, but also sort of saying that this is a tale that is going to be told, it's going to be written down as one of the most tragic love stories ever. But then he switches gears a little bit to, as much as I love her, I hate him, and I cannot wait to kill him. And, I'll know him because he has my sleeve in his helmet, and even more than a hurricane whips up the sea, they're not, like, a hurricane whipping up the sea is not going to make the sea dizzier than my sword when I go to fight him, and I'm completely prepared to just fell him in one fell swoop, basically, is what he's getting at. And Ulysses is like, oh, okay, that's some pretty big words there. But then Aeneas comes in and he's like, so it's almost time for wars to start, and considering we're in the Greek camp and you happen to be a Trojan and Hector's already in his army, already in his armor, ready to go, maybe you should go and do that. So Troilus says, sort of, it's funny, he almost actually even says a pathetic goodbye as he's leaving. It's sort of like a begrudging goodbye or something like that, where he's still feeling a little sad sack-ish, but also kind of fired up to have an opportunity now to try to kill Diomedes in the war. But he doesn't want to be rude to his hosts, to Ulysses, who helped him find all this out. And Aeneas never did him any wrong, so he says a strange, polite, dismissive goodbye to them. And Aeneas, Ulysses, and Troilus leave. And Thersites has just one more brief moment that isn't long enough to be a monologue for this project, where he's like, oh, look at what happens when people fall in lust with each other. Aren't they silly? Aren't they sad and pathetic and horrible, horrible beings? Because that's what Thersites thinks about everybody. But he very much enjoyed watching Troilus fall apart in this particular situation. So that's the end of Act 5, Scene 2. So now we've got like two very impassioned battles that need to happen on the battlefield as the Trojan War is going on tomorrow. We have the Achilles really, really, really wants to kill Hector, even though he's in love with Hector's sister. And we have the Troilus really, really, really wants to kill Diomedes. So we got to find out who's going to be successful in their quests and who isn't. And we will dig farther into that in tomorrow's monologue. So I'll see you then. Mwah.